Hi. So there's something I'd like to talk to you today, and that is about how hero worship is unhealthy. Hero worship is something that is very common in the online celebrity community, these streamers will get on and the fans will accept their word as if it were the word of God, that absolutely nothing they're saying is incorrect. And that's a very dangerous mentality to portray to society, especially when a lot of these people aren't in positions where they should be casting their political beliefs or personal opinions on a level to a mass audience. We're talking about people who have like 50,000 viewers every single day talking about subjects that they really shouldn't be. It's not appropriate for their platform. I'm talking about people like Hassan and Asmongold. I'm not trying to like pick on any political party because both of them are guilty of this. People um, parading their opinions around as if they were certifiable facts without any concrete evidence behind it. Asmongold constantly gets on there and spouts his rhetoric in a manner which makes it sound like his opinion is a fact. He says his opinions in a very factual state of mind, like he could do no wrong in his thought process. And that's where his hate speech gets accepted by the masses, which is very dangerous, because these people want to appease their favorite streamer, their idol, they'll do anything to think like him so they can be like him so that they can achieve the amount of success he has, which is very rare for people to do. Most of these streamers that are streaming got lucky, got really lucky. Some of them were promoted heavily by their platforms, but a lot of online celebrities got really lucky to be where they are today. And people worship that about them. They find it as some sort of proof that whoever is in front of them is a speaker for God, so to speak, as if like their every opinion has been peer reviewed since the beginning of their channel, which is a very rare, very bold claim to make. Um, and a lot of these people, like Hassan Abi and Asmongold, use their platforms to spread misinformation, hate, and fear. There's a lot. I'm not the only person to think this. I mean, Asmongold himself got banned from Twitch for uh, justifying genocide in Palestine to his viewers. Luckily there were some people that were able to take a step back and say, "Whoa, this is really messed up." But he still does it on a daily basis, and these impressionable folk that watch his channel are stepping away from it, thinking, maybe what he's saying is true," despite the fact that most of these are baseless claims off of his emotions rather than empirical evidence. And we're putting people in positions they really shouldn't be. Like Hassan Abi is getting like time on actual news channels to spout his, hate speech. Generally, is what it is, and fearmonger amongst these impressionable folk that just listen and hang on to his every word as if he could do no wrong. And I mean, both sides are guilty about this, but it's creating a dynamic where people are unable to admit they're wrong. I see it all the time where I'll get into a debate with someone and I will provide factual evidence, that's undeniable. Like you can't dispute this at all. But because their favorite streamer told them otherwise, they want to believe what their favorite streamer is telling them is correct, despite their favorite streamer oftentimes just pulling this information out of their ass or their straight up emotions. It's creating a toxic world where we value feeling accepted by our idols more than we do the truth. Um, and I say to everybody to like research what it is you hear someone say before you judge an opinion on it, because people are being presented this information in a way that sounds correct in the way it's being phrased, but really is just a matter of emotion over intelligence. And we want to believe what these people in front of us with millions of dollars say because society views people who have lots of money as being more successful when there are people who are earning pennies a day that make this world turn more than the billionaires sitting on their asses in their yachts, fishing the world to overconsumption. But it doesn't seem to matter in, George from Ohio's mindset, because his favorite streamer who made millions of dollars spouting their opinion is telling them to think another way, and these people are too illogical to think on their own. They just hear something and they accept it for what it is without looking behind the scenes. I always try to provide evidence to my claims. I don't try to sit on this platform and just make shit up for the sake of making it up, or to tell you that my opinions are facts because that's what I believe. I try to craft logical reasons for why it is I'm saying what it is I'm saying. And a lot of the times when I make these boisterous claims, I provide factuals for what it is I'm saying. I try to do the research for you and provide you the evidence so that you can come to your same conclusion, or come to your own conclusion, rather. But that's not always the case, despite the evidence I present. A lot of it is hard to dispute, but people are still disputing it, and that's because their favorite streamer told them to, or they don't want to believe their favorite streamer is guilty of these horrible crimes. But the evidence I have makes them feel uncomfortable, which brings out the toxic nature of emotion over fact, where they start personally attacking me and coming up with all these straw man arguments for why what I'm saying is wrong, when none of it is relevant to the information I've presented them. I'll show them a piece of evidence, and instead of saying this evidence is wrong because blank, the argument becomes, you're an incel, you're an idiot, you need to stop posting on the internet, which are all completely irrelevant to the information I presented. You didn't dispute the evidence, you just insulted me, which is the sign of a weak argument. If you have to insult the person you're arguing with, chances are your argument isn't very strong in nature. If you are presented evidence that goes against your beliefs and you don't take it into consideration, then you're an idiot. It is the sign of a genius to admit when you are wrong. If someone presents you evidence that goes against what it is you believed, and you read it and you're like, maybe I'm wrong, and you admit to being wrong, you're a genius. You look like a very intelligent person. If you see all these signs that prove you wrong, and you still get on your soapbox and you still start preaching about why the world sucks and why you're always right and why Asmongold is 100% correct in every statement he makes, you're an idiot. You're following the masses, and you're not valuing intelligence over emotions. Now, I know it's a little ironic to talk about calling someone names in an argument and then say that, but this isn't really an argument. This is more of a dissertation. It is the sign of a genius to admit being wrong. And that is why I feel like society is degrading as time goes by, because more and more people are looking towards others to do their thinking for them and are unable to formulate their own opinions based on current situations, because they want someone else to do the thinking for them. It's more about being in a cult at this point. If you can look at all this evidence that proves you wrong and you still believe what is being said, then you're in a cult. That is like how cults work. It's about fear mongering and brainwashing your followers into believing letting them believe what you wanted them to believe, so that you avoid accountability, and so that you can live safely in your own little bubble where nothing ever goes wrong, and your perfect streamer is the second coming of Jesus Christ, and all of these false narratives that are being portrayed by the media. So that's just where I wanted to leave it for today. So, come to your own opinions. If you took nothing else to this from this video, start researching claims before you make them.